Evening, it is Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. It is 6 p.m. and we are here for our regular select board meeting. All members are present with the exception of Hazel Stevenson. Is she joining us Zoom? She's not. Okay. Okay. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and flag is in the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Conflicts of interest in the agenda, board members.
Nope.
Okay, so we're gonna start off with an executive session. Is there a motion to enter?
Move that we enter into executive session in accordance with 1 MRSA, section 4056A.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. So we'll go here. And.
The motion that we exit executive session. Is that what we should do next? Yep.
Yes, second.
All in favor? Okay. Any action?
I'd like to make a motion that we consolidate in our general administrative functions, that we consolidate the positions of tax collector, bookkeeper, and treasurer into one position to perform all those duties and perhaps other duties. The title of that position and the salary amount is to be determined by us. It needs some further discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Okay. So we're going to. Chip is here today, code enforcement officer, and he has going to give the board update. We're going to insert that into our next agenda item. So Chip, welcome. Thanks for coming.
You're good?
Sure, wherever you're comfortable.
I was asked this afternoon to show up to talk to you all and made some adjustments, so I'm here. Put together, as I did for over in Reedfield for you, a FY 23-24 year-end report. Remember, that's from June to May, so you get the full year there. And in doing so, first thing I do usually is on the back page of the different items, volumes, dollar volumes, and for the last 3 years. And we had a big jump last year. This year, it's pretty steady from last year. I think things are kind of leveling out. We had the big jump because you remember I put together a new fee schedule to bring us up to date, which we'll look at again this year. And just you can see the number of different projects. We had a few more new homes. Repair, solar continues to keep growing. So it's pretty self-explanatory. So you get an idea of what building and plumbing is going on here in town. Like I said, it's to me, pretty steady in the last 2 years. Been a challenging year, the past fiscal year, and since we have a lot of new things going on. We had a lot of state mandates we had to incorporate into our.
So, thank you. That seems to do it.
We had a lot of state mandates in terms of affordable housing, in terms of DEP. But the planning board has done, I think, a really good job in following up with these and getting them into a form where I can work it, and it's gone through the whole process through the planning board to the select board and through town meetings. So a lot of these have been incorporated. The other big project that's been going on for the last year is getting our land use ordinance and other ordinances. I think you're going to hear one of them tonight, codified. again, brought up to date, brought up to state standards, brought up to what we've asked for, and to also hopefully bring it up to, the point where we lose a lot of the conflicts that we've had. I think, this group over here knows what we went through with the RV mobile home campground. There was a lot of, differing things that, ran into each other with the land use ordinance, subdivision ordinance, with the separate RV campground ordinance. Well, these guys are experts at this. They're gonna take our current ordinances, they've taken the history of our ordinances, they're putting it in a new format. Anything new comes, like if when the RV campground goes through, they'll incorporate that later on, but it's a great project. It was funded inadvertently by the state. We got some money for the LD 2003 project, which, carried over here. So I'm hoping that you come to some kind of, finality tonight on the select board's piece, and then they'll take it, they'll put it together over the next month or two, and they'll come back with a product that we'll be able to look at online, have a public meeting over, and somewhere down the line, put forth to the planning board, select board, and hopefully town meeting. It's been a lot of work. I think Henry will tell you, it's just a lot of work. So that's been a big thing. What else? I've had quite a few issues here in town with violation messes, with different problems. This year, one of those problems has come to the point where we're going to court next week. This is the one over across from the Strawberry Farms. Has to do with junk and cars and so forth. It's been a real troubling one. Gentleman worked with us for a couple of years and then went non-linear and went his own way. I won't go into details, but it's been a real problem. So we've ended up going legal, and the court date is next Tuesday, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. And we'll look for maybe a settlement. They owe, I believe, close to $45,000 now in fees, plus legal services and other things. So we're gonna talk about, it's very difficult. The guy that lives there, just lives there, his mother owns it. It's just so many things that come into it. It's an expensive situation with legal and how it's drawn out. And hopefully we can get the courts to make a decision in the next few months. So, along those lines, we have other issues in town that, are quite similar, and they're tough. And I will assure you that I've looked at each of them. I work with each of them every month, every time something comes up. Some of them are more than just violations. Some of them will involve, social, economic, all kinds of conditions. The state doesn't help out much at all. We don't get a lot of help. The police go to these places once or twice and then pretty much back off. The human services maybe comes once. In one instance, just went to the school where the kids were, never visited the place where, these kids were living in squalor. So it's a very tough situation. And I try to do my best to lead these things to you, to some kind of ending, such as the one we're going to court with. But I want you all to remember, we're in a tough time. There's a housing shortage, crisis, they call it. There's, again, little help from the state in terms of relocation, enforcement, or anything else. So anything we do, it's gonna cost, it's gonna take time. And so I'm gonna look at you all. I mean, if there's something that I'm not doing, that you're not pleased with, give me a mandate and I'll do it. But we'll talk about it, and it's just not simply as easy as say, get her done. Make sure we have the wallet, make sure we have the fortitude to go legal, and make sure you know where we're gonna go once you execute these type things. So we talked about general code. Most other things, people have been real good, working with us, getting things done. I've had, I haven't had many complaints at all. Then there's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, the the park at the other end of town. And that's going through. There's a moratorium, so we can't talk much about it. But they have come to me for a annual renewal of their permit, which under the rules they're grandfathered under. I gave them that permit. You'll be hearing about their liquor permit. I'll be interested to hear what happens, get some clarity, because I understand they're not going to be doing a service bar anymore. It was just for the store. But that continues to be a drain on resources, and I foresee dark clouds ahead with that. So everything you do there, walk gingerly, because I think there's a lot that's going to be coming over the next year in terms over there. So just buyer beware. With that, I think I've covered most of it. Which I haven't covered, I put in this report for you all. Go over it. You know my email, you know my phone number. I welcome, your input. I respect your direction, and I will do, whatever, is needed to do what I got to do for the town. So, any questions?
I've got a sort of a statement, regardless of how anybody might feel about the general code project, it has been extremely time consuming and difficult, and it has put in a lot of work.
Right.
And it all is over and above, I think, what should fall within the bailiwick of a code enforcement officer. And so I appreciate the work that you put in on that.
Henry, I appreciate your words very much, and you have been a champion in terms of coming with, things that you thought were in the bailiwick of the select board. You all should be thanking him. He has spent a lot of time. I think we're coming to a conclusion, but it has been, and it's been interesting doing it. We've pulled a lot of it ourselves, but thank you, Henry. I appreciate that.
Thank you as well, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna dig back a little bit, Chip, and just so we're holding our own accountability from the board's perspective. I can't remember the timeline, but I think it might have been, it could have been a year ago, 6 months, 8 months. You probably remember. I think we've had an update, and we looked at the Tucker Road.
Yes, that's the one that's going up.
We looked at Tucker Road, and I think we looked at perhaps maybe, I'm trying to remember, I don't have the minutes in front of me. We looked at or discussed maybe the corner of 133 and 219 perhaps.
Yeah.
And then we also discussed Fairbanks
Yep.
specifically, and I just and I think in your report these areas have been addressed, and I want to make sure that and again, I don't have the actual charge, but I guess the point I'm trying to bring up is ensuring that our communication from the board to you, and then looking at the sort of response from code enforcement is sort of being seen through. And I know that I think some of those issues have been complicated as stated, and that might be an understatement. An understatement, but I think at the same point, I just want to make sure that the board and code enforcement is staying in communication specifically on those matters that I know have been brought up before in the past.
And again, like I just said to you, they are very complicated. You brought up one I forgot about, the one on 133,
Right.
where the trailers are and everything. Extremely complicated, and continues to violate, continues to, charge that he shouldn't be affected by these things. And he's even made his residence there, even though he's not allowed to be living there in an RV, and it's crazy complicated. But as I said to you, I don't think we're in any shape financially or bandwidth wise to take on all three of those things you just mentioned, plus other things that are on on my table. And again, as I said to you, I'm trying to do my best. If there's ever a question as to what I'm doing or proceeding, let me know. And if you do, be ready to discuss what you want done. And are you ready to deal with it financially, politically, socially, and everything else. We're in a weird time in my mind. To be putting people out to,
Mhm.
we've got to come up with a solution. State's not gonna do it. I need your help. So if there's a problem,
Mhm.
let me know. If there's a direction, I'll welcome your direction. But you have understated. I mean, it's just, these things are so freaking complicated. And it's so frustrating trying to talk to agents and services, police, state, the locals and everything else. These guys all know about these things,
Mhm.
and there's not much they can do.
Okay,
I really can't go into much more.
Yeah,
because,
no,
there's
understood.
Legal and everything else going on.
yeah, understood.
But, Fairbanks, got a solution, let me know. 133. I'm gonna come down hard on him. He's just been a real pain and
Okay.
distraction. And again, there are others. There's 2 or 3 other
Okay.
areas that I'm, really dealing with, but one at a time, folks, one at a time.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having. me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, meeting minutes.
There was,
Did Hazel text in to change this?
yes,
Not-
I,
yeah.
I was just gonna bring that up. There was one point that Hazel was concerned where it said that she and I discussed the, pardon me?
I have a quote.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
so she said some applicants were interviewed after the initial screening process done
Right.
by the subcommittee, which is board members, UTAC and Stevenson. So we can make sure that that gets annotated.
Right, she just wants to make sure it indicates that some and not all.
Right.
Thanks. Mhm. Motion that we approve the select board meeting minutes for March 4th, 2025 with the one change noted.
Discussion. All in favor? Okay. Warrants.
So in the warrants, this week, you'll see that the school had their allocation, $232,915. Inland fisheries, that was, the licenses that go back to the state, so that was just a check for that. And then the town of Reedfield Transfer Station invoice came through this month for, the month of, February, I believe.
What do we pay Cobussy Watershed for?
The Cobussy watershed, they get an allocation from all of the towns, and I believe they pay that in 3 installments over the course of the year.
Mhm. Move that we approve accounts payable number 42 in the amount of $270,719.69.
Second.
Discussion. I have a discussion question. I think we talked about this, I think this fall. And I don't know what the answer to the question is. That's why I'm asking it again, because some of these warrants technically have already been, some of these bills have already been paid, correct?
A couple of them, like the state ones especially,
Right.
because those ones are typically gonna go back. We just completed the AP warrant prior to this, so those typically are now being ready to be signed on Tuesday.
Mm.
So I completed the AP warrants on Thursday or Friday last week. And so the checks are printed, waiting to be signed by either Bryce or Pam when they come in this week.
Because is it related to our meeting schedule and when warrants come out? We're like, because we're approving warrants that may have already been,
I think we're on schedule now.
we're on schedule now.
Yes.
Well, we passed a resolution
That's what
because
I'm
of
trying
our
to
every
remember.
two, because of our, so we don't, I guess you guys used to meet, or we used to meet every 2 weeks. And then we changed to twice a month. And that caused us some consternation regarding payroll.
Right.
And and we did the law allows one of us to sign a warrant
Mhm.
for payroll and also for monies that go to the state, that are owed to the state, I believe it is. And we did motions on those and passed. And I don't know, and right after that happened, I know someone called to see if somebody could come down and sign something. I haven't heard anything since then. I don't know
I was gonna
if one
say-
of us, other than me, have been going down and signing.
That's why I'm kind of bringing it back
Yeah,
up.
Right.
but you can, I can find it and send it to
Okay.
you, but for those two items, payroll and the monies to the state. Every now and then, you should be saying, hey, can one of you guys come down and sign a warrant in advance of the meeting?
Yeah, Bryce used to send an email out
Yeah.
occasionally and somebody would run down there.
Is there just to everybody, all the select board members?
Yeah, and whoever wants to
And then
show
I've
up there to
got-
do
yeah.
it.
Okay,
I'm not that far away.
all right.
Yep, Mark.
For clarity, this is your second meeting of the month, but this is not the second warrant.
Correct, this is the first warrant of March.
So you met on March 4th
Mhm.
and improved
Gets approved,
February.
it gets approved, yes.
Okay.
It did.
Okay, I just wanted to,
Yeah, but we did that and.
okay,
And one of us should be going down and signing those whenever our meeting schedule doesn't work
Okay.
out. Like the people want to get paid and they don't want to wait for our next meeting.
right, got it.
I
Okay,
think that
Yeah,
worked
so like
before.
the end of the month, when's your next meeting?
April first,
First
So
Tuesday.
when is that March warrant gonna be paid?
should be. I'll have to check exactly which dates those are. I believe that we had just gotten the February one for like the invoice for the audit and as far as the school and as far as the transfer station, because we got the invoice after the month. For the previous month.
I'd have to look at it, but like the second. I don't know if the second warrant, I don't have it to look at. And I don't know if this is what we're being asked about. But I know the snowplow contract says that the plow payments go out with the second warrant.
Right.
And I think he's wanting to know, should that check have been on this warrant? Or does it go on the next one? And I don't know, I'd have to go back and look at it, because I don't remember,
Okay.
I'm getting old, I don't remember exactly what it said, but I'm assuming that's your question.
But I'm assuming that
Yeah.
you should be approving the warrant before the check is written.
Yes,
Or
well-
cashed or gone
Fine.
away.
Yeah.
The warrant should be approved before the check is signed and mailed, I think,
I
You
don't
can
think
write a
that's
check.
always
Which is what
the
we're
case.
doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
All
Well,
these checks, none of these checks have gone out before today?
Correct.
Not a single check on here has gone
I
out.
don't know if a single check has not gone out. I'm sure that we have the ones for the state that have already gone out. I'd have to
That's
go
right,
back
that's what
to-
you
So-
said. The state was had.
I brought up the point to address
the state
this,
and the payroll,
yeah,
Because
so
the
I,
ones that I just printed on Friday have not been signed.
but I think his question
Yeah.
is,
Price has
the
been out.
contract says I gotta be paid
Treasurer
with
will
the
sign
second
on
warrant, where's
Wednesday,
my check on
tomorrow.
this list?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
so why don't we look
that's
into,
my psychic abilities.
So, we've got,
But
we've
the
got-
your next meeting is when?
April first.
So how does somebody get paid for March if your next meeting is not till April?
I think we need to look at the contract,
Yes.
and look into it.
I think we need.
We've got your point, we need to look into it. I would suggest.
I agree. I think we'll answer that and determine that. We got a motion on the table. There's a second. All in favor? Payroll.
Move to approve payroll number 41 in the amount of $10,413.37.
Discussion.
Shannon, I'd like to see if we can, if it's not a big deal, for the payroll warrants to get little printouts like we do for the AP warrant. That basically says who it is and how much,
Mm,
you know, whatever, so you should have something on your payroll that we, I don't see anything in here and haven't for a while that shows what the support is for the payroll warrant.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I was just looking for that too.
No, it
Yep.
hasn't been there for a while. So just kind of a backup, sort of like you do with the AP warrant for payroll also.
Payroll journal.
Thanks. Did you get a second?
Yeah, we're in discussion. I was just,
Yeah, I
Okay.
think those things are all APs that are in there.
all in favor? All right, old business, we have, discussion of the treasurer ordinance. We started this discussion last meeting, I think we circulated, or there's, sort of an amended ordinance in our packet and does it accompany the original ordinance?
For some reason, the red line didn't come out on the amended, and either maybe I might have sent it wrong, or who knows
They
why.
did look very similar.
But here's, no, yeah, I know, that just doesn't show the revisions, I don't think. does it?
No.
In black and white.
Yes.
No, I don't
And
think
so-
it does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but there's nothing lying through. or
There's
underlined,
nothing
I
lying
don't believe either.
But the revisions are,
But here's,
this is the,
that'll show the revision.
okay, thank you.
And was the old treasurer ordinance included in the package?
yes, it was.
At the end.
It is?
Oh, I've got it on the phone.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go, everybody's-
Um,
Pages of it.
I think
That's, yeah,
that's,
that's the new one. I
this is
believe.
it. Okay.
Yeah, and what's highlighted on there, we had talked about this a little bit before. And also some people sent in comments, so these changes, the treasurer should be capitalized, I did that. The change to 3A on that first paragraph, it's just reworded a little bit, it seemed a little cumbersome. I ran it through AI, it made a suggestion, I took its suggestion, and that's just a change to that paragraph. And that paragraph just says that the treasurer should, with each of these warrants, have a statement on there by the treasurer that says these things, that all payments scheduled are provided for in the budget and within the funds provided and are powerfully supported by invoices. The changes to these, I think Hazel might have said oversight was misspelled, which it was. On paragraph 4, Hazel wanted statutory town manager. She suggested that, I think, at our last meeting, so I put that in. And I indicated that plan was adopted by the town. The second highlighted thing in paragraph 4, there was a long sentence that I broke down into 2 sentences to hopefully make it a little
Okay.
better.
Can I stop you right there?
Yes, sir.
If we're gonna include the statutory town manager plan, can we include that title and chapter?
Sure.
Just
and
to,
should that
just
be
to reference.
capitalized?
What?
Should that be capitalized?
I think it can. I don't know that it has to be, but yeah, we can do that.
Okay. And yeah, sorry, keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good. Again, I think it was Hazel asked for a comment, can't we just say who the treasurer reports to?
Mhm.
All right, well, I don't know that it's that simple, but here's what we
No.
said. Here's what it says. I'll break it down. It says the town manager shall exercise general oversight and management authority to provide necessary administrative support for and to ensure the treasurer performs the duties and fulfills the responsibilities of the office of treasurer as set forth in this ordinance and the applicable statutes and regulations. And then it says that authority, however, should not be used in a manner that prevents or limits the treasurer's exercise of independent judgment in performing those duties or fulfilling those responsibilities. I think the town manager, under the town manager plan, has to do these things that we put in there. I would suggest that is the case. And also, I think that's probably the way it should be, would be my suggestion. And granted, it's not cut and dried, town manager is the boss. Because really, we're saying the town manager has oversight and is responsible to see that the job is done, but the treasurer can come to us.
Yeah.
And also if there's a problem with the finances, it's, you know, we should go to the town manager.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, what do we do with this? If you want to have if we want to have a hearing on it for developmental purposes so that people can suggest changes or make comments that we would consider on what we finally put on the town meeting warrant, then we can go ahead and schedule that, but it needs to be done, you know, in the next couple of meetings.
Yeah, no, I think we had talked about that idea, and I think it's a good idea to have a hearing. Are there board member comments, questions around these amendments right now?
No, I think we probably should have a hearing too. I don't know, you know,
Okay.
I don't know what I don't know, but I wouldn't think there'd be a whole lot of changes unless there are folks that want to go back to an elected position.
Right. I have a sort of a topic that so we took action. Oh, I don't know, 25 minutes ago about a financial officer
Yes.
and that combination. So I think evaluating how this may relate to that sort of question. I don't know if there's problems in that, but I think there might be some questions that, and I'm not sure exactly that, but then specifically the idea of a 3-year term and its relevance and whether or not that is relevant or should be omitted altogether.
Well, if you admit it all together under the statutes, and I have to go find it for you, if you admit it all together, they have a 1-year term.
Okay.
And I think there's this treasurer ordinance sets forth the duties of a treasurer to be appointed by the select board. That treasurer could be a chief financial officer. It could be a separate guy like Bruce. That treasurer could be Shannon. And so the question of who gets appointed, it relates, but the ordinance doesn't, the ordinance is I suggest stands alone and separately from the chief financial officer position. What we said is just, that's a job that we're gonna hire a guy and we're gonna appoint him or a gal and appoint him as treasurer, appoint him as tax collector, make him the bookkeeper, and give him some other duties.
Right,
So, and it could be 3 years, it could be 2 years, it could be 1 year, but I think there is, if you have no term, I think it's a yearly deal.
Yearly.
And I'd have to get this statute. and send it to you,
So
but that's what I recall.
the hypothetical scenario, which there's probably countless ones, which is a scary road to go down, but if one individual is acting as treasurer, tax collector, bookkeeper, would tax collector, bookkeeper necessarily be aligned with a 1-year term or, you know, some duration of time? Or would that have that could have a,
Well, the tax collector has, and I have to tell you, I haven't studied, there's a
Right.
tax collector's manual and I haven't studied it and I can't tell you how it works without looking at it.
yeah,
But my understanding is the tax collector job ties with a tax commitment.
right,
yeah,
And that guy has to stay on the job until that commitment is completely
Right.
collected.
right,
And, or else you gotta go to the town and do something.
Right.
I can't tell you what it is, but you gotta do something.
right.
So I'm not sure that, I think we need to work them to sort of together, but it doesn't need to be
Sure.
3 years, it can be a 1 year, and we could have this person in this job but then there would be a motion appointing a treasurer each year, and that gets reported to the state.
is there any benefit or problem with doing it either way?
Well, one of the things is, if you want to, when we've kind of, we said we want to make a new job, but there's still some things to be decided,
Right.
okay? If we decided, well, we want to maybe only commit to 2 years to see how this is working out in our contract with this position, then maybe we wanna, we could change this back to, to 2 years, or we could make it annually.
Well,
And,
anybody going for a job, it's gonna like look for a job rather than one that just gets
yeah,
that goes for a year and then maybe they'll get somebody else.
well, I'd almost think you want to have a contract with the term, and that's kind of come in when we talk about the town manager's contract. Because as I understand, under the rule in Maine, employees who have, expectations of continued employment, they have property rights. And there's due process that you have to go through if you're not happy with this person. I think if you have a contract that sets a certain term, we're saying we're committed for 2 years and then we're going to evaluate it, and you have an evaluation sometime before that, but we can talk about that more later.
Yeah. So I guess my thought, without, I know there's follow-up conversation to be had, but I would put the least, sort of restrictive
So
term
let's
for
do
the
it here,
town.
1 year.
Yeah, at this point, if that's the statute. That's my
It
suggestion,
would seem you'd want to evaluate every year
right?
in any case.
Okay. So and then in terms of the question around scheduling for public input, most like this will be on the floor. At town
Yes, yeah, I think we're
So we've got-
too late to do anything,
Right.
anything other than floor votes.
So we've got. Do you think there's enough, well, when would you like to have a
And we
public
don't
input?
have to do that. We can have a public hearing that's just says, here it is for people to talk about. If it's a floor vote, you don't have to have a public hearing at all. It's just a
No.
matter of whatever we want to do. I kind of think I have trouble seeing the sense in having a public hearing if you're not going to listen to what they have to say and do something with it.
So
So
what-
that's sort of, or listen to what they say and maybe say, no, I think that's a bad idea and I'm not gonna do anything with it, but here's why.
Yeah, I don't see why we'd have a public meeting if we weren't gonna be
Yeah.
listening to it.
Yeah, so,
So do we want to schedule an
Yeah.
agenda that has a public input specifically for this?
Had to be at the next meeting, maybe?
well, I've got a chart, but I didn't bring it with me that says what our
Oh, right.
what our timetables are.
So
So we can, maybe we can talk to
Okay.
Shannon about it afterwards.
I know April 1st came in on that chart a lot.
That's always a good
Yeah.
day for really important subjects.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk to you. All right, very good. Thank you. Thanks for putting that together. General codes,
Yeah.
parks and public lands. And I think we started this conversation last week or last meeting as well. And
And
we're back in it.
Same thing on one of those. I don't think the red lines came through. And so I've got some that I can pass out that have red lines and highlighted on it.
Yes, Ken.
On the treasurer and line treasurer, not only is there going to be an issue about the term, length of term, but if the treasurer is sort of kind of supervised by the town manager, and the other two positions that this one person holds is fully supervised by the town manager, and the town manager has the ability to hire and fire 2/3 of that person, but not the other third, it's going to be complicated. And I'm. It's gonna be complicated. to say the least.
Yeah,
But the, so. In fact, no, I was gonna say, so how do you propose to deal with it? But it was just an observation.
well, how about this? If we schedule the public input session, some of this feedback, and then we can sort of, maybe we can gather sort of a consensus or some ideas, because I think right now, I think the board is trying to play what is perceived to be a concern that the town's expressed about separating the town manager and the treasurer. So I'm not saying this is a perfect solution
Yeah.
to that problem.
It isn't, but the, I guess, I don't know how special we are, maybe real special, but many towns, the town manager is the treasurer. I'd say that's probably pretty common, maybe more common than having a separate treasurer.
Right.
And so, if we have such concern, I mean, there you'd have a real separation problem. If it's the same person.
Right.
So I don't know. And also under the town manager plan, it does require. I did bring that. Let me find it here. I have too many papers. I think the town manager plan requires the town manager to do what we've suggested here.
Right.
And those particular aspects of it are not subject to being, I don't believe they're subject to being changed by an ordinance.
Well, I think the town manager,
Here's what it says. The town manager is the administrative officer, is responsible to the select board for the administration of all departments and offices over which the select board has control. That would include the treasurer. It says the town manager shall keep the select board and the residents of the town informed as to the town's financial condition. Now, some things, there's 14 items in here, and some of them like appointment. On the appointment of town officials, the statute says, unless otherwise provided by ordinance, the town manager shall appoint, supervise, and control all town officials.
Right.
So this would provide that the town manager appoints the treasurer, but it also says you can have an ordinance to the contrary. But these other sentences don't necessarily say that. So I don't know if,
Well, in terms of keeping somebody in a position, if the town manager felt that 2/3 of that person was an issue enough to fire them, I'm thinking that the other third, the select board, might also agree that there's a problem.
yeah.
It is complicated.
well, we're gonna flush this out
Okay,
some more.
let's do that.
Yes.
In terms of the solution, one of the town manager hiring advisory committee looked at this. I think the issue was there needs to be internal controls to provide for fiscal responsibility. The only way, but it wasn't part of our charge to figure out
Right.
how to accomplish that. And as Henry said, there are a lot of town managers that are the trained. Hopefully, they have some sort of internal controls that provide for the fiscal responsibility. But I think for a solution, that is one solution, is to have the town manager have either be the treasurer or have supervision of the town manager, which is essentially the same thing. Or to have the treasurer separate as opposed to combined.
Well, how about between,
Those are the
how
two solutions.
about between now and April 1st?
Yeah.
Can you look into any documents that other towns might have for those combined positions?
Yes,
And that might help
and I'll be
state
happy
some
to
of
take
that.
any questions that any residents have prior to, so that way I can have the answers to that at the next meeting.
And always keep in mind.
Okay.
We've had a system for many years. With an independent town treasurer. And how the fiscal controls worked out, everybody has to make those judgments on their own. But I would just ask that question.
Mhm.
No, those are valid points.
Well,
So look,
we have reporting in here too, that I think is a huge improvement.
right.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at parks and public lands. So do we have, I'm gonna ask the question, do we have we've got the amended?
Here's one that's a red line with highlights on it.
Yeah,
Can I pass some of those out on them?
Black and white.
I don't,
Yeah.
but they're in the second, neither of them have lines in them.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the red line version,
Well, I think.
I got this, but there's none.
Then we also have the original
That's highlighted.
from 96, which is good.
But it shows
I
the
put-
yellow and the red.
Made 6 copies of those. How many extra?
Here,
No, none of mine have lines in it, but it doesn't matter. We've got one now.
you're
Okay.
missing
Yeah.
just one. All right, maybe I can,
Do you need one?
yeah,
I'm gonna take this back. He's got it.
okay. All right,
And again, this is to provide, Chip something to send to general code.
Yes.
It's still, it needs to be passed by the town meeting, and we may want to have I think we should want to have a hearing to hear what the town has to say on the input. But meanwhile, general code, if we all agree with this, they can put it in, and if there are other changes that are made or the town meeting doesn't pass it, then we'll have to address it then.
we looked at driveway and entrance permits.
Yes, sir.
Parks
Yes.
and
Yeah, here we have the. park.
treasurer.
No,
No.
it was entertainment. Special entertainments for places that have on premises consumption. Culverts
Yeah.
and roads, those were 3, and then parks and public lands is the 4th one. And those other 3 I've already sent to Chip. I think we had our input on it, but
Okay.
any one of those that we want to go ahead and change the ordinance, it needs to go on as warrant items at the town meeting.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it'll be changed whenever general code is done and their product goes to town meeting.
So this addressed the things that I was
So-
concerned about.
On this, I think it was Hazel, somebody recommended that on the description of the parks, we have property owners who are not current. But they all have map and lot descriptions, so I just took out the property owners from
That was my
the
concern, yeah.
Veterans
This- the-
Memorial Park, yes.
We were able
whoever
to
it was,
put
uh-huh.
the,
Yeah.
so that's great.
When we go over to 28.9 F, Trent, I believe, was, commented that the select board should approve, people to sell things, any goods or services in town parks. And perhaps we should take out the exclusion that I included in the ordinance for the farmer's market. And so I did those, and that's in 28.9 F.
Do we know,
Yes, sir.
do we know if the current, I think there's signs in the park currently that sort of outline or prohibit the rules? I've read them a long time ago, but
I haven't seen any in the parks that are.
there used to be a
across the street
little
from my
sign
house.
that said like,
Yeah, I
it
don't,
doesn't matter. As
Yeah.
long as, at some point, those signs ought to be consistent with what we're.
with what we're having here, yeah, or if there are special rules that the town manager can
Right.
enact, those need to go up with some signage.
The other, I have a question regarding the sale of items in the park. Do we have a form that people can fill out to request? I would think that we would want something
Yeah,
like that.
we'd have to we need to, I think we probably, would want to do that. I mean, our current ordinance doesn't say anything about
Right,
selling or not selling.
right. But if we're saying
And
that
so
you have
there
to come
should
up
be,
in
there
front of the
should be
select board.
something that somebody, or I guess they could just come here and make a pitch about what they want to sell, since we have it all the approval is by the select board.
That's good. Or even a letter,
See, what I had included in there originally was the town manager is authorized to issue rules and procedures for persons from time to time to apply for and be granted one-time exceptions to this prohibition. So that would mean that the town manager would come up with rules and procedures and come up with an application
an
form.
application, right?
Yeah.
Which she might need to do anyway.
Yeah, all these
I was gonna say.
The,
Yes.
yeah, the issues are, the first comment, Ken gave us some written input on it, which is great to do it that way. I think he's suggesting that the LAD committee, the bottom line of this I see is the LAD committee should make the rules and control the use of the parklands around the LAD Recreation Center. Have I got that straight? Is that the bottom line of it? And the school for the school, yes.
So you just strike those two
And it's,
C and E.
Well, you'd
strike
want them to
those.
have in parks if you want everything else to apply, like, let's, for example. If we think about this, what would be an example of a problem arising because the LAD Center wants to approve an activity that's prohibited by the ordinance? I mean, that's where it would arise. Is that correct?
I guess I'm not sure that I see the point in making the LAD Center, or especially the school, apply to the town to be able to have a craft fair.
In their parking, or in the park land.
Well, it says facility and land.
Yeah.
Ordinance, proposed ordinance.
Okay, so that could be addressed in the 28.9 F merchandising advertising. Is that where the issue comes up?
Oh, it covers any activity.
You want to say that the LAD Center can,
Well, there are other points too. I mean, that was,
okay, like,
to me, that was the most egregious.
well, that's fine, and that can be addressed in 29 F. And what would another example?
What could it be? It
Time of use.
might be more
Yeah.
encompassing than just merchandising.
Yeah,
It's like general, like
Yeah.
autonomy, right, in terms of, or,
Yeah.
I'm trying
No,
to,
no,
I'm trying to
yeah.
paraphrase.
yes.
Why wouldn't we just strike the two C and E from 28.2?
So you don't want to have the tennis court as an example of a town, as something in a town park be subject to the town park rules. The LAD Center is going to run that. I mean, that's fine. That's what we want to suggest.
Does the LAD Center have its own regular rules for the tennis court area?
No, not that I'm aware of, frankly.
Okay.
No,
Would you want to do that?
it's never been a problem that I'm aware of. So I think it would be a response to a problem with the rules promulgated for the courts.
Eric,
Yeah, I think the way the existing ordinance is structured, is that all of these general provisions will apply. Except for exceptions that are granted in the case of the LAD Center by the LAD Center Board, in the case of the school, by the school. Committee.
Right.
So otherwise, all of these provisions would still apply. The only exceptions to this that would be granted by those government entities.
The exceptions to the regulations, which would be exceptions to all the regulations, is for all uses of the facilities and lands of the LAD Recreation Center shall be governed by the LAD Recreation Committee. So that is exceptions to the regulations. So basically the LAD Center, the LAD Recreation Committee we would say that the LAD Center facilities are not subject to this ordinance, but are subject to the regulation by the LAD Center. Is that what you?
I think that's how I would read the existing one.
Yeah, okay,
so
Okay.
exceptions to regulations might be an aspect to this ordinance we would consider adding? The amended ordinance?
I would still think that there might be some benefit to having some of these overriding rules and regulations apply to everywhere in the town. Prohibited activities, use of park property. carving out some exceptions for special use.
I'm just kind of a scrivener here on writing down what I think what all what's being suggested. As far as what I think, my opinion is, if it's a town park, the town regulates it. Glad Center is a town park or it's not a town park. I don't know. I think it is, but now the school playground may not be a town park. I mean, that may be an exception. I don't know. The town doesn't own that land. You know, and so if we accept the Lad Center from all the restrictions in here, then, people who want to take their guns to the park can take them to the Lad Center unless the Lad Center says otherwise.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Title 25, chapter 25, subsection 2011 says we can only regulate the discharge of firearms.
Yeah.
Not the carry, possession, or sale.
Here's what I think. Again, my opinion is, this thing is gonna go for a public hearing. It's gonna go for, it's gonna go for a public hearing. It's gonna go for a, before the town meeting.
I have another question, because this is, Parks and Public Lands is, more complicated.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
My question is, what specifically do we know did, the codification recommend for changes?
It didn't recommend, it recommended a nitpick change. I mean, it took your ordinance and put it in the, essentially like it was.
So are
Which we
we,
could,
are
which we
these,
could let that go in.
the
and-
reason why I bring that up
Yeah.
is the existing ordinance good enough?
Well,
No, I see head shakes.
well, here, the existing ordinance is good enough if we think only Lad residents should be able to go into town parks. Which I
Wayne
don't believe,
resident.
which I don't believe is,
Okay,
is right.
okay.
This doesn't say pick up after your dog, which maybe we don't need to. It doesn't say, anything about regulating sales in the park.
Okay,
Nan, and like I say, some of these things, hey, go to a town meeting, maybe they think it's okay to carry your gun in the park.
I think what
I
Mark was
don't- I
saying
don't-
is that it's
yeah.
illegal for us to try to.
Well, I don't know if it is or not. Maybe we can ask Maine Municipal about that.
You want to write that down?
Huh?
You want to write that down? Title 25, chapter 25, 2A, subsection 2011.
It'll be is there a something MRS section?
so can we put,
Let me see your- let me see. No, and I'll be able to get from there. Yeah,
what,
yeah, it's,
sounds like there's, opportunity for input that we should get from the public.
Yeah,
Can
we
we put this on
yeah.
the April 1 too? Should we have Parks and Public Lands and the
Sure.
treasure ordinance?
yes,
Do it.
Cause I think we might be redundant here. We might be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Having discussion and then the same discussion on April 1st.
Yeah.
And are there any other ordinances that we'd like to include in that public hearing? Public input session, whatever. Yeah, Henry.
but, well, on this one, I need to tell Chip what to do. Should I just tell him to just leave it like it is?
No, I'm suggesting there seems to be,
Do we have?
people,
until
people,
April 1st?
it sounds like there needs to be changes to this.
Yeah.
The existing one needs to be updated, but it also sounds like we have, some discussion around these questions that are
Yeah.
brought up.
Uh-huh.
So I'm suggesting that we put this in the treasurer ordinance on the April 1 public input.
Okay,
And the final question before we schedule that, do we want to hit any other ordinances in that discussion for public input before we finalize it? Or we,
well, we had the road. We have the road ordinance, and we have the culverts. And if you think they're okay the way they are, we can just leave them, and then it will come in when, general code thing goes to probably the 2026 town meeting.
So we've got roads,
We've got roads, we have culverts.
culverts.
We have special amusements, and they had some nitpicky deals on
But
that. and
special
Those are
amusement-
pretty, yeah, those are pretty
That
recent
was-
ordinances, and,
right.
and you mentioned you don't want to go to a town meeting for that, and I agree with that.
Right.
So we'll just let that go with the general code.
Right, because they were really
They were minor.
minor, so it's, maybe we should do treasure, public lands, roads for
That's okay.
that section in April, on April 1st.
Okay,
Right?
but
Did I miss one?
then Chip needs something to tell them
What does he need to tell? By
He-
what? By what
Yeah,
date?
by when?
by April 1st, before April 1st. Is his deadline. I just tell him what to leave it like it is. And then if we change, when we change it, we'll just have to change the code.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure there's enough participation in this.
And Mark brings up a good point. We should get input from Maine Municipal Association
Okay.
on whether this is a valid provision or not. And if they say it's not, then we need to fix it so it is valid. And then it needs to go to the town to decide whether they want to let people carry guns in the parks or not.
Right. Okay.
Well,
If they're allowed, if it's
That's
allowed.
law enforcement.
Yeah, if it's allowed.
No,
It's allowed.
point taken. We're gonna do it on April 1st, Mike.
Let's do it.
Regarding firearms, is that what you're proposing for the town more or less strict than the state law? And I guess the question is, does the state's home rule allow a town to make something more restrictive, but not less restrictive?
The statute says the state, I just looked at on his phone and I haven't read the whole thing, but it starts out that the state preempts towns in certain areas. I haven't looked at it to see what exceptions there are.
Into this
Okay, it's
with
a,
trying to
there's,
keep guns out of the
it
town
needs
office.
to, it starts out though, the idea of the statute is to say, with respect to these aspects of firearm regulations, it's the state's business and the state rules preempt town from changing them. That's what his phone says.
Well, what it says is we can regulate the discharge. of
Yeah,
firearms.
yeah,
I'm gonna,
so,
Yeah.
you're gonna look into these questions.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah.
We're gonna have this discussion on
Yeah.
April
Yeah.
1st. We're gonna keep rolling.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is time for new business, public hearing. So we have to open a public hearing. This is for so we have to open and close each public hearing for each application.
Mhm.
Okay, so is there, well, I'll just move that we open the public hearing on the
Mhm.
Green Indoor Golf Liquor License Renewal Application at this moment. Oh,
Second.
discussion, all in favor? Okay, so the public hearing is open. Were there any concerns brought up since the last time this license was issued to Green Indoor Golf? Any comments from the public? Seeing none,
Move to approve green indoor golf liquor license renewal application.
well, let him exit the public.
yeah,
hearing.
we're gonna exit first. Sorry about that. I was just looking for their application. All right, so we will close the public hearing, I move we close the public hearing,
Second,
Second.
all in favor? All right,
move we approve the green indoor golf liquor license renewal application.
Second,
Long handle.
second,
discussion. All in favor? All right.
Move we enter a public
Thank you.
hearing regarding Yogi Bear's Jellystone Park Camp liquor license renewal application.
Second,
All in favor? The public hearing is open for this topic. Yes, Betsy.
Yes, just a clarification, I know when Chip was here, he made, tell me, I think he mentioned that at Jellystone, they were talking about not serving. But this this application is for serving. You know, this is an on-premise application, off-premises when they sell it in the stores. So I think, you know, so like Hobbies has an off-premise because they sell it in the store and people take it off-premise and consume it elsewhere, but this is an on-premise. So to me, this is indicating that they are applying for the permit, the application, the license, whatever, and intending to have an R allowed restaurant of some sort. So just understanding the difference between the on and the off premise. There isn't anything on here that shows where on the property they intend to serve, because we had that issue back years ago when they first applied for an on-premise and they wanted to serve on the beach. I don't see anything on this application that, at least that was available for us. I don't see where they are showing you or showing us where they would intend to serve. I would hope that they're not intending to serve on the beach, on the waterfront.
But Betsy, I didn't include that one overlay of the facility because they didn't indicate anything as far as serving it. They indicated that they don't have the staffing to serve it, so they're not planning on serving it other than the carrying kind of.
But that's not what this application is for. This application is to serve drinks. The off-premise application does not have to come to the select board, it goes directly to the state. You don't have to do anything with it. This application is to serve drinks. This is not an application to sell a six-pack of beer.
Does,
I just need, that needs to be really clear.
does this application, I'm trying to read, does this application specify and or require that level of detail into where it's actually being served?
The previous years when they've had applications, to me, this is looks like the state has redone this form.
Yeah, it's different.
It is a different form than what they filled out before. The only thing I can see is at the bottom where it says documents, there's something that says premises floor plan.
Right. That's what I was,
And that's not included in what I see, at least. I don't know if you see a floor plan. What they had to do before was to indicate where on their property they were intending to serve, because they put down, in previous years, they put down in their ranger station and then up by where they have some other recreation facilities. And that's where at one point they tried to, have a serving station down at the beach.
yeah, I recall.
Just wanted to make sure if they get granted this application to serve drinks.
Where does this say that? Where does it say that? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
That's that's vague. It's not as clear as it has been in the past. In the
Right.
past, there was specific.
There was this
So
map.
it's hidden inside one of
This
these.
map
As to where the serv,
where they were. And there's no map here to show, and I don't, I think that should be very clear. May I also bring up another quick
Well,
one?
it says, what is the gross income from beer, wine and spirits? It's zero.
it
That's
says
because they
as of
stopped
the
last-
expiration date, that's,
No, that was what they did last year.
that's what it
And
says,
last year
up to
they-
the expiration date.
Yeah, the guy was here last year and said they didn't plan on selling anything, even though they wanted to keep their permit.
Right.
I was
That's,
in the audience.
that's the sense that I got. The other thing was number 8, where they said that they don't allow entertainment.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
If you allow dancing or entertainment, and they've answered no.
So we
So
have to
what
ask,
about the bands and the dancing and the, the where they,
There's nobody here to.
I can't even assume, they're not here to rep, I don't know.
I
I
tried to
don't,
call them, I haven't been able to get in touch with them.
yeah,
Thought
I'm
that
just
I
making
recalled them
assumptions based
saying
on.
that they
history.
were
I have no idea.
canceling entertainment.
Mhm.
Maybe that was
I called
last
them
year.
several times, they haven't
Last year,
answered.
they put in a permit for the special.
According to
amusement
the number that
permit,
they had
put it
provided
for
on the
one-
application.
For one, event with a lot of fans, they ended up having one.
So is this a new format for the
That-
state?
Yes, the state sends it directly to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't come through the town or anything, that's from the state, and so I printed that off.
And I would suggest the special amusement permit is, or special amusement is a different, that's kind of a different
Yeah.
topic. That comes,
Right, they
And then
that-
based
that's
off
a-
of,
that-
to get a liquor license,
Yeah.
then they can apply to
Yeah.
the town for special amusement, but on this application to the state, where the question number 8, where it says, do you allow dancing or entertainment, they've answered no. Does that mean, no, they're not gonna have
So-
anything?
I know it's,
That's
I know it's a
question.
separate permit, but it is a little questionable if they typically do have entertainment, and here they say they're not gonna have any.
Yeah,
It'd just be nice to be able to say, you know, what does that mean on your application?
Well, I was, as a board, I mean, if they're saying, no, they're not gonna have dance and entertainment, then I don't, why should they be allowed to come to you later and ask for a special amusement permit? Just a wonder.
I guess if it said, yes, we do have plan to have entertainment versus no, we don't plan to have entertainment, would that change how we voted on this? Because if it didn't change how we voted on it, then it'd be more like just, how come you didn't get it right the first time versus, well, we should never have given you a license.
can we convey some questions back to them about this before we act on it?
and I've tried calling them, I haven't gotten any response.
You mail them some questions.
And- Yes, and it's basically just sending back a recommendation to the state.
yeah, and I would recommend that maybe we table this and take it up at the next meeting, and you might want to put off some of those other hearings that we talked about to a later date. They submitted this application on 2/19 under and I just did a little reading on it today. So don't know that much, but I do know that if we don't act on it in 60 days, the state is deemed to, that they assume we approved it and it's gonna go. That's approximately April 19th, April 18th. I'd have to look at that. So I think we should table this. Set a public hearing for April 1st. Publish the hearing in the newspaper, which I think it was maybe required. And that publication is paid for by them. They should give you the money to publicize it for 3 days in the newspaper. And then we can get some more information about what the requirements are to disapprove this. It's pretty limited.
Mm.
I believe, I think this is a done deal personally. Because first off, we don't even have to have a hearing on it. It says that the town may have a hearing. And then it lists the reasons the town can use to deny this. And there's a specific set of reasons, and we need to have those for the hearing.
They are fairly
suggest
limited.
And say, here are the rules. Does anybody know if any of these reasons exist? Just a suggestion. And
Right,
we have time to do it.
Okay.
We can publicize it, we can get more information on how it works.
Okay.
good, okay.
And that gives us an extra 2 weeks to ask MMA if our citizens can pack firearms in the park.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, isn't it important to know if they're gonna be serving or not serving? That's the
It
issue
is,
that
yeah.
Well,
seems important to me.
They-
Are they gonna be serving it and where? On premises? There may be some expansion of the premises this year, maybe, I don't know.
Well, maybe that is,
Well, maybe you could invite them
Voiced
to our
about
next
it
hearing.
in the past,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know,
that's, so in other words, if you got a
maybe
patio
in the
with
meantime.
400 tables out there and they're gonna serve. A little bit different than if they're gonna serve in the facility that's currently there. or whether it's not, it's just gonna be takeout, we're gonna take the beer to my cabin and consume it all.
Well, Betsy is correct. This application allows them to have on-premises consumption. And it's an application formed by the state. And there may be instructions that goes along with this that we will need to look at to see, but I don't see any questions that ask them to specify the areas within their facility where it's going to be served. They do have this premises floor plan, and maybe that answers
Yeah.
the best answer
Did
to
you
your question.
consult that?
I think we can, I
So-
think we need to know better about,
We've got
more
questions.
about what we're doing.
I think
We've
you got a couple-
tabled it.
One is
I want to end this.
I mean, what are premises, is that the structure, or is that the whole piece of land? I mean, you also have that-
Hold on.
Yeah,
We've tabled it.
Yeah.
okay.
We're
Good
gonna,
idea.
I'm gonna close the public hearing. We're gonna have
Have
the
another
full
one.
conversation
Yeah.
at our next select board meeting. It'll be noticed either 3 consecutive days, 1 day, 7 days in advance,
Newspaper.
newspaper. I'm gonna make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
Second, all in favor? And then do you want to take action to table
I think
or?
we're gonna table it, and then we plan on reconvening the public hearing at the
Okay.
next,
Okay,
at our next meeting. Does
then
that
we
seem
can
fair?
have, then we'll get the information and we can answer the questions.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Thank you for those points. Appreciate it. All right. Let's see, so we've done code enforcement, town manager report.
So today we're just closed at the office due to staffing. And tomorrow we are planning to resume normal operating hours, so we do appreciate everyone's patience today. We also posted the Wayne Memorial Day observance. The committee is inviting veterans, musicians, boys, girls, team scouts, and anyone with a focus on honoring those who died to protect us to march in the parade. And that will be Monday, March 26th at 11 a.m. With people lining up at 10:30. And there is more information on our website to contact. I think it is Rick to ride in the parade.
March 26th, and then May 26th?
Yes, May 26th. Thank you.
That's a better date.
Yep, May 26th. Just a reminder, on Friday, the mowing bids are due. We did have one person come in so far and pick that up. Still expecting some more that one. There's a planning board meeting this Thursday, March 20th at 6:30 p.m. The next school budget is March 26th. They are anticipating some increases in their health insurance rates. They heard Anthem is going to be about an 18% increase. So once they get those numbers, then they will reconvene and do a draft number 3 for the school. And then they're planning on April 2nd for a full board meeting. Tonight, the Kennebec County is having their public hearing number 2 on their budget. So we should hear more from the county after tonight. And then our next budget meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 25th, and we'll be going over general admin, debt service, elections, assessing, code enforcement, and our contingency, and that's set for 6:30 as well. This Friday, I will be attending the 45th Annual Managers Interchange Conference in Bangor. I will be out of the office. Monday, I will also be attending a workshop in Augusta, but I will be here on Tuesday, so getting this together. Any questions? That's all I got.
Thank you. Board member reports.
If you recall back in November when we discussed and set the price for the road plowing contract, we spoke of the 4 years versus the 3-in-1 versus the 4-in-1, and the fact that all the terms are for a 3-in-1. I think we decided it was a 4-in-1. And we talked about amending it, and somebody said, do we have to do that right now? Well, the time has come because we're supposed to be giving the contractor notice by May 1st of this year on whether we exercise our option for the 4th year. But all that's changed. There is no option for the 4th year. It's a fixed deal, I think, is what we decided at that past meeting. And the option is for a 5th year. And so there's a bunch of stuff that ought to be changed if we want the contract to say what we're actually doing. And that has to be, we would need to propose that and the contractor would have to agree to it. And then I don't know what happens if we can't make that happen. Because then we've got a contract that says one thing and we're doing another thing. Just for what it's worth. You recall, we kind of put that, we kicked the can down the road back in November, and the time of reckoning has arrived.
Yeah.
How do we
So-
proceed then?
So, do you want to, look at proposed, amendments and, send those to the contractor to see, what he thinks about it?
Sure.
And then do you want to you want to delegate that to Shannon? She's the purchasing agent.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to help with that,
Okay.
but, yeah.
And we have, May 1st.
May 1st is when it says we're supposed to give notice on exercising the option.
So we,
And really, that needs to be kicked to May 1st of the next year. I mean, one of the changes is there is no option for next year. We've decided it's a firm year. And it isn't until the 5th year that we have a choice of yes or no. And so then it would make sense that in May 1st of 2026, if we want to continue for that winter, we give the contractor notice then.
But that's not what our
any of it
contract
says.
says
That's not what
right
any
now.
of it says.
Right.
It
So we
just
just,
needs to be fixed up to say what we're doing.
in our meeting schedule, we have April 1 and then April,
15.
and then that's it for April, right?
that's it for April.
Is it reasonable to think there could be a draft by April 1?
Yeah,
For
yeah,
that.
we can have a draft in a couple days.
A couple days.
On it.
You're not doing it.
Just come out of the office today and already started going through it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thanks for bringing that up. Other board members.
I have a letter that
Yeah.
I'd like to get the approval to send to the, I just noticed that there's a mistake in there and it's my fault really. The language in the, it's supposed to be left out, but maybe not. It has to do with two items that affect the county's finances and the town's finances. And why don't I just read you the letter? It is not often that we do this, but we must speak out. For all the talk we hear of how we have to relieve the overtaxed citizens on our property taxes, somehow it is forgotten when it comes to county budgets. This is going to the state legislature, which has two bills before them. Okay, we now ask that you take 2 steps to relieve this. First, support LD 852, the act dealing with adequate funding for county. It says country instead of county. It only asked for $7 million, not the full 14 million that represents the need. Now, we've an alternative reading of this is we should ask for the full 14 million. But the question of whether that's what you want to do. Second, support LD 286, which gives the towns an option to pay the county tax in multiple installments. This is important as they are only beginning their budgets. They have different fiscal years and face difficult choices. We recognize that the legislature must deal with difficult choices too for FY26. I'd suggest that this is the least that can be done for the towns. Do you want to sign this letter and send it off? The problem being that they're going to go into work session and the time for submissions like this comes to an end when they go to their work session. They say, okay, we've heard all we need. So
And when are they supposed to go to work session for this?
they don't know, but they
Oh.
could be later this week, it could be sooner, it could be later.
I absolutely support it. I think that the LD 286 has to be
Yeah.
supported for our sake.
And 852 asked for 7 million or 14 million.
What's the other?
I don't understand.
7 million?
They
14
need
million?
14 million in
Oh,
order
one
to
LD
do the
286.
work that they need to do.
It basically to finance drug programs for this town, for the county as a whole, or for the state as a whole.
But they're only asking for 7 of that.
Because this year we get 14, where we got 4. We got four, I'm trying to keep this thing so as they will understand.
Yes, of
But we
course.
got four for the current budget. The current extra budget allows 4 million out of 14. Now, LDFT is 52 for 26 allows, in fact, that's what we ought to do. The current bill asked for 7 million, not 14 million. We're just figuring they're never gonna pay us $14 million under the current circumstances. We might get 3 million on top of what we've already gotten. So the question is, maybe we should ask for the whole 14 million?
I'm not following. Is this a county request?
This
The
is
four-
the co-
Is it seven?
This is a bill to fund county jails. And they've got $7 million
Right.
for a certain part of the bills that are,
You're talking about from the state.
right, from the state to the counties
Yeah.
to fund this treatment. The counties figure it's gonna count for $14 million. This year, they
I see.
gave us 4 million.
This is what they're asking of the state.
Yeah,
They're only asking 7,
right.
but they need
Right,
14.
right.
They should ask for the whole 14.
We haven't gotten it again last time when we asked for it.
Correct.
So
So-
if you want to ask for the 14, we can.
So are they making up that difference by taxing or getting the revenue from the town?
You're right, because every bit
Yeah.
of all that difference comes right back to the property tax.
If we ask
That's
for
for
7, maybe
14.
we'll get 5. If we ask for 14, maybe we'll get 8.
All right,
What is this for?
this is mostly drug treatment for the prisoners.
Okay, and who said this has to happen? The state?
Is it a mandate? Is it like a
Yeah.
That's what I was
unfunded
gonna say. I
mandate?
would put
Yeah.
something in there about that,
Funded man.
that the state, yeah, that this is an unfunded mandate that
They
the
understand
state.
Right,
all
right,
that
right.
stuff.
Okay, but I'm saying that we ought to say, this is
Yeah.
your deal, you need to pay
Yeah.
for it.
Right. Because
Okay.
you're putting the burden on.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
Right.
In our
Yeah,
in our
okay.
letter.
But this is a version, it's a slightly different version of the letter. It was sent to all the members of the two committees, of the committee on justice and the committee on state and local government. So which is a large number of people. And
Oh, I see.
this what they sent. That's a slightly different version. which
So
is the way
this,
it should
this
be.
says the first piece of legislation is LD 852, which seeks adequate funding for county jails. The request is for 7 million, which is a step toward addressing the full 14 million identified need.
Right,
We encourage consideration of the full 14 million.
Right.
At least some of the expenses for county jails get passed along to cities and towns through the county budget process.
That sounds good to me.
I like that.
okay,
Absolutely. And we really need to advocate for the tax bills to be spread out as well.
Yeah, that's the other.
And that's the other 286.
so would you like to have this signed by her as the town manager, especially in the interest of,
I think she should say that the select board, yeah, I think the town manager can sign it, but also put something in there that said that the select board discussed this at a recent meeting and.
Submitting it on.
Is advocating
Yeah,
it,
and I'm
yeah.
submitting it on behalf of them.
that's good, we'll send it out tomorrow. Now, so. Thank you, that's my
That's good.
All right, thank you, Lloyd.
That's important.
What I'd like to do is.
Other board members.
We're waiting for a special select board meeting for next week in order to discuss the next steps for town manager hiring.
There and say, this has been discussed by.
We'll
On the
present what we've done and then we want to get some decisions from the board as a whole.
Okay.
And that's for the 27th. 27th.
Yep, 6:30 Hazel Act.
At the town office.
You could do, well,
It's gonna be all executive.
It's gonna
session.
be all
The public
executive
is welcome,
session.
But, okay, we can do it here if it's available, then
well, if we do it there, then
it doesn't matter, we'll do it here, I mean, that's.
it's warmer there.
Okay, see, all I'm saying is people are welcome to come.
People are welcome
It's
to
an
come
open
and
meeting, but.
we'll
all
go
you
into
gotta
the
get to
office and
see is
people
us behind a
come.
closed door.
Yes, right.
Oh, we saw today.
Yeah.
is this building open on the 27th?
I have no idea.
I can open it.
All right, there's
I can
no,
open it now.
well, I mean, there's no conflicts,
Oh.
other scheduling
Yeah,
conflicts.
check.
So
What day of the week
location,
is that, a Thursday?
Thursday.
Is there a planning board meeting on the 27th?
No, it's on Tuesday.
Okay.
all right,
This Thursday.
so we'll
Oh,
plan
good,
for
thanks.
Lad Center at 6:30 unless otherwise.
6:30 or 6:30?
6:30, please.
6:30, the
Yes.
27th.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thanks. Public comments. Mark,
My recollection upon the Fairbanks Road thing is that this board, most of this board, I don't think all of you were here, is already told code enforcement to take action to investigate it. And I'm confused why that hasn't happened yet. I think that happened on several occasions. And it still hasn't happened. At the last meeting, I asked about paving money. I don't know if that's where the missing paving money, or what I consider missing paving money,
right,
has been found yet.
Thank you for the reminder.
Okay.
Yeah.
They had a lot of traffic on our posted roads. Most of the signs are down.
Hmm.
What happened to them? There's a fair amount of traffic, heavy truck traffic.
Okay.
And I guess also
Mm,
with the code thing, there were some other issues that were identified that don't affect them as much as some of them do, but there's also an illegal tire dump and another multiple dwelling facility on Pisgah Road. Those haven't been addressed either.
okay.
It's a very large tire,
Which,
dump,
Tire,
dumping of waste tires.
oh, tires. And that's been brought to the code enforcement officer's
And no
attention.
action taken either. We will eventually get stuck cleaning up the town.
Yeah.
We'll eventually get stuck cleaning up those tires. That seems to be the norm.
okay. You have that down?
Got the fire dump on Mount Pisgah Road. And-
No.
I'm tired of.
Multiple house thing is on Pisgah Road. The
Oh.
tire dump's off of 133.
Oh, okay. And where on 133?
I don't know the address. You
Okay,
can see it from the stone with trail.
okay.
Thank you. Calling our attention to this.
Other public comments? Ken,
Just prior to the public hearing on the Jellystone application, I think there might be other questions you might want to look into, and it was brought up, but I'm not sure the decision on that, but whether or not they actually have the right form. If they're not proposing to serve on premises, but it's one where they're just proposing to sell at their store, that goes directly to the state, and maybe this is irrelevant to the town if it's the wrong, it doesn't need to come to the town.
Mhm.
Another question I would have is, can there be conditions when the town passes it on to the state? Such as, we approve this, but conditional upon knowledge that it will not be serving, they will not be serving liquor on the beach, something like that. But the question is, can there be conditions? And the other thing is, what is it, the application complete? And we haven't seen whether the floor plan, whether they show if there's a page for the floor plan, and they haven't filled that out, then I would say that the application's incomplete and can't really be considered until you reach them and they make it complete. And then that would trigger the 60 days. If it's not complete now, the 60 days won't be triggered until it is complete.
okay,
I did receive this from the state, this application.
The state
Directly
sent
from-
it, the state
Yes.
sent it to you here.
The state sent both the applications for tonight's meeting, directly to me. And so I will reach out to the state and ensure that all of the documentation was included.
other public comments? Seeing none. I move,
And move to
just
adjourn the meeting.
yeah, move to adjourn,
Second,
all in favor. All right, thank you all.
well, we're making progress.
Yeah.